Today, when shame is sacred, how men break free from addiction and live with integrity. Welcome to Sacred Grit, a podcast equipping men to conquer addiction and overcome inner struggles through physical, mental, and spiritual disciplines so you can become a man of honor and integrity. I'm Jason Lyle. Now let's get to work. Today you'll learn shame can destroy or it can drive transformation. Toxic shame tears down identity. Sacred shame builds integrity. And owning your actions and letting go opens the door to grace. This episode is brought to you by Chuck Swenson. Hey, my dude, welcome back to the Sacred Grit Podcast. Glad to have you back once again. Hope, as I always say, that you are gaining some tools in your toolbox to help you fight the things that haunt you, my man. Whether it's eating too much, drinking too much, smoking too much, shooting too much, watching too much porn, whatever it is that you are trying to overcome, trying to give you some tools here. And today I want to talk about shame, because shame walks hand in hand with addiction. And shame can either become like this victim mentality thing where you just go, oh, I'm just such a piece of shit, which, as I've said before, allows you to almost justify those piece of shit behaviors. Or shame can be, I don't know what I'm going to be next, but it sure as hell ain't going to be that type thing, you know. So let's talk about shame for a minute, because when I first lost my job at the church because of my affair, I mean, it was everywhere, dude. I mean, I would go to the restaurant and people from the church would come walking in, and, you know, I just start to feel a little bit better. And here it would all come crashing in again. Or, you know, I'm walking through the grocery store and I would turn the aisle and look at somebody straight in the face. I'm like, oh, shit. They would turn around and go the other way. It's like, oh, man. Like, you know, and to be fair, there were some other people who were not that way. You know, they would come over and speak or ask me how I was doing. But, you know, like everything else in life, those positive things are easier to forget than it is to remember the negative things. And so, you know, it's just like this heavy weight of shame. And everywhere I looked, it was there. And all I wanted to do was get away from it. But, I mean, I just couldn't. It was just there. And the truth is, I mean, I could have ran as far away as I wanted to, but the shame would still be there. Maybe not the reminders of it, you know, in the people. I think this is why a lot of people, when they have a moment, you know, like this, they just want to move away, because temporarily they can get away from it, but you just can't. And it's just going to be there in the early stages of recovery and beyond if we can't kind of move past it. And I'm just not sure that that's a bad thing. As a culture, I mean, we've kind of turned shame into a bad word. You know, we have entire studies around the shame, as if we should just never feel it. But shame is a powerful motivator. And there's a difference between toxic shame and sacred shame that leads to change. So toxic shame is where we're made to feel bad about things we can't help, like our body structure, our hair color, or our eye color, or the general structure of our facial features, etc. Or someone is made to feel shame because of their sexual orientation or how they have inner feelings that lead to outer behaviors that are outside of cultural norms, but cause no harm to anyone. Well, those things are toxic shame. But there's a shame that moves us toward change, and that shame, I would argue, is good. Now, you felt this before, surely, right? Like maybe you can go back to a time when you were a child and you stole a piece of gum or that you picked up at the store, or you didn't pay for it and your parents found out, or maybe you told a lie and you were caught in it as a teenager. Those moments in your life stick with you, as they should, because they help us move forward in a way that pushes us to not do those things again, right? It's like the first time somebody ever said, don't touch that stove, it's hot, and you did, to find out that it actually is hot. That gives you this memory to where you don't do it again. And shame works inside that same mechanism, right? Is our memory hold those things and project them forward to remind us how we felt when we stole or lied, to use that illustration, right? And that's a good thing, because our society largely depends upon shame to move us toward a better version of ourselves, right? We're becoming better versions of ourselves. But what do we do when we have over and over and over and over and over, we have these behaviors that produce shame and we can't get out of them. Well, we have to look at how we're viewing that shame, because shame is a part of the spiritual world, and we're motivated away from shame when we feel it, if we can turn our lives into a living example of the lesson we learned from the shame, right? So this makes me think about the prodigal son from the story in the Bible. The son tells his dad he wants his half of the inheritance, right? And evidently dad was really wealthy, and the son wanted to go ahead and get his. So the dad gave it to him, cuts him loose to go live his life. Now it seems like that son goes and lives it up, partying in all manner of ways. The Bible says he squandered his dad's wealth with wild living. And I don't think any of us need to parse the word out squander in the Greek to know what that means, right? You probably have experienced some of this yourself. But after some time with his half of the inheritance gone, he ends up feeding pigs. Now, it's kind of a rough job for a Jewish boy. If you know anything about the Jewish heritage and pigs, you'll know that they don't go hand in hand. And the Bible says that he longed to eat pig food. And then there comes this line in the Bible, right? It says, he came to his senses. He remembered where he came from, and he went back there. Now, in this moment, he starts heading back, and the Bible talks about how, when he's walking back toward his dad, he's rehearsing what he's going to tell his dad. And it's something like, I don't deserve to be your son. Just let me be a servant. It's like all this, I'm just woe is me talk, right? And he's doing it in his head. But the Bible says that while he was still a long way off, the father ran to him, threw his arms around him, and restores him back as his son. Now, the son is astonished by his behavior, and he says, look, I just want to be a servant. I didn't expect to be restored, but the father won't have any of that. He gives him a coat and a ring and throws a party. He's like, this boy of mine was dead. Now he's alive. He's come home. And the son is struggling to understand this. Now, there's an older brother, right, that stayed. And the older brother doesn't like it because he stayed and did all the work while the younger son was out partying, but the dad don't care, right? He just partying on while the older son pouts. Dad's inside cutting a jig. My boy's home, and the older son's outside pouting. Now, Jesus tells this story in the context of how we are supposed to treat people that have lost their way, for sure. But I want us to look at the symbolism here, right? The son is me, the younger son. The older son is me, all right? And the divine, well, that's the father. You see, both sons are producing shame. The first son is producing shame by his actions, and the older son is producing shame because he won't just go in and celebrate. He won't forgive and forget. Both of them are producing shame. One is trying to shame his younger brother, toxic shame. The other one is feeling sacred shame, the feeling of forgiveness, the feeling of restoration. But both of these products of shame, they come down to worth. The older son has found his worth in his good deeds. I stayed here and I worked. And the younger son found his worth in what he did not do. I don't deserve to be called your son. So one is saying, I have all this worth. I've been a good son. And the other one is saying, I'm just a piece of shit. But the father, he just sees them both as sons, right? That's all the father sees. He sees through the bullshit. He sees through the lies of, I'm so good, I stayed. He's like, I know what you've done over the years. And the young one goes, man, I don't deserve. And the father goes, yes, you do. You're my son. That's because grace is positional, but actions carry consequences. See, grace of being a child of God is about position, not about what you did. You're loved by the divine because the divine is love. You don't have to feel shame in that space, but you do have shame around the consequences of your actions because we can choose how we live. We can choose to believe in the position of a son, taking responsibility for our actions and not blaming others for them, while at the same time believing we've never lost our position. Because here's the deal, dude. No matter what you have done, nothing has changed your position in the eyes of the divine. You're still the same beautiful creation you were when you were born. Now, you may have made some bad decisions just like I did, but they don't have to define you. They just define what you did. But you can own that shit, admit it, and move it forward. Just confess it. Just be, yes, that is exactly what I did, but that is not what I'm going to do next. To stay inside the shame of what you have done only serves to give you a reason to do it some more, right? It's just that this is just who I am kind of thing. But to own it, state it out loud, admit it, confess it, and let it go, that is to move away from it. That is to move into the grace God offers us and away from the shame of what we have done. Now, there's a lot of men that live in the shame cycle, and, they've been told that's just who you are. If you're a Christian man, you grew up in church, chances are you may have been taught that you're just born a sinner, right? But if you say you read the Bible verses that are used to make you believe you're just a sinner at the core, you'll find that before sin, God called us good. As a matter of fact, very good. Now, what if all men everywhere believed at our core that we are good? Good by the nature of who we are. Not some born piece of crap sinner, not some addict, but somebody who is good. What if we took responsibility for our actions and just started saying, you know what, that is exactly what I did, but I will not be doing that again. We don't let ourselves off the hook. We hold ourselves to a standard with integrity. We hold ourselves to a standard and we feel the weight of our consequences. In recovery, we say we play the tape all the way to the end. I know where this decision leads me, so let me stop now and make a different decision. Yeah. So today you learned shame can destroy or it can drive transformation. Toxic shame tears down identity, but sacred shame builds integrity. And owning your actions and letting go opens the door to grace. All right, my dude, man, I appreciate you listening. I hope you share this with other friends as much as you can. Get the information out there. I know it changes lives, and I just thank you for listening every week. You can go down into the show notes and go to the website, thesacredgrit.com. There you will see Calendly links to book a call to consult. That's what I do. I coach guys to help them through addiction and other issues in life, pain points of life. Also down there, you'll see an upcoming retreat in January on the website, a men's retreat in January. I'd love to have you part of that. And my email is down there. If you'd just like to reach out, I would love to hear from you. All right. Our final sponsor is David Dodd with Edward Jones Investment in McDonough, Georgia. Edward Jones McDonough. Now listen, David is a fine man, and he can help you with all your investment needs, whether it's retirement or just general investing. Most of all, David is a man of integrity. He is a guy who walks these things. David does cold plunges. He does the breath work. He does yoga. He is doing the do. So if you want a brother who is in the fight with you to actually handle your financial affairs, you'll reach out to David Dodd at Edward Jones McDonough. If you Google him, he'll come right up. All right, my dude. I hope you have a great week. See you on Gritty Wednesday.